Hello everyone, it's finally Tuesday again. I would like to share with you a card that I've made using some of the new sale-a-bration products. So let me just show you which one I'm going to be using. We have got in here on page 8 of the sale-a-bration catalogue. It's called Toadstool Gardens Designer Series paper. This paper comes in 6x6. There is 48 sheets, so it's really great gift to pick once you've reached your 100 in for your order. And there are 6 different designs. So let me show you these ones. Let me just pop these aside. And one of the things I love about this paper is that it coordinates with one of the stamp sets or bundles from the new mini catalogue. So these are some really cute papers. I don't normally go towards or gravitate towards the sort of cutesy papers, but this paper I do like. Lots of pinks, lots of greens, splash of orange in there. So there is one side of the 6. Let me just go through the colours in this paper for you. There's Early Espresso, Fresh Freesia, Granny Apple Green, Melon Mumbo, Poppy Parade and Pumpkin Pie. So there's one side. Let me flip it over and show you the reverse. So some of these papers on the reverse side with the patterns, very, very versatile. I love the wood grain one. So you can actually do masculine and feminine cards with this paper. And of course, you can never go wrong with different stripes. And so, yeah, just some different patterns, very, very versatile. This is a paper I'm going to be using. The other thing I'm combining it with tonight is one of my favourite sentiment stamp sets from the annual catalogue, which is called Simply Said. This stamp set is photopolymer. Mine have been used quite well. I use them fairly regularly in Facebook Lives and also for free classes. This stamp set is $30. So it is a great all-rounder for a sentiment stamp set. Okay, the other product that coordinates with these papers here is in the new mini catalogue, and it is called Terrific Toadstools Bundle. So this bundle is one that has both the stamp set and the punch. So it's kind of a builder punch. And of course, these images here coordinate with the punch to stamp and punch those out. So let me show you in a little bit more detail. So this is the stamp set here. And you have the 2 tops of the mushrooms plus also the smaller stem for the mushroom, which is a part of the punch. Okay, so it just takes a little bit of the hard work out of it. You can build up your toadstools and just punch them out. And of course you can use these for designer series paper to do the same sort of thing. Okay, let me pop that one aside. So as I mentioned, mini catalogues on page 53 and the bundle costs $68.25. So you're almost there. Add an ink pad and some adhesives and you're already at your 100, ready to then get the coordinating paper from sale-a-bration. Okay, let me put that aside. Let me show you the card that I'm going to make, which is this one just here. Okay, so I have included some of the essential baker's twine, which comes in a little packet like this. And also has a little spool of white baker's twine as well. So this is from the annual catalogue. I haven't got the details and I haven't got my catalogue here to show you this, but I love using the baker's twine. When I am colouring the baker's twine using one of the Stampin' Blends, I tend to use the vanilla because there just never seems to be enough white. So I've got multiple packets with these other colours, but the white I go through a fair bit. So when I'm colouring, I do use the vanilla. So that is what I'm using. I've also added in, as I mentioned, Simply Said stamp set, Melon Mumbo ink and cardstock, and I'm using the Melon Mumbo Stampin' Blends to do the colouring on the baker's twine. Okay, so let me share with you the products that I am using for this card. I have a half sheet of A4. This is the thick white, which I have pre-scored For the inside of the card, I've got a piece of Melon Mumbo, which measures 10 centimetres by 14.4, and the piece of white, which measures 9.5 by 13.9. For the outside, I've gone a bit smaller. So my Melon Mumbo is 8.5 by 12.4. My white is 8 centimetres by 11.9. And my piece of designer series paper is 7.5 centimetres by, I was doing well then remembering the numbers, by 11.4. Okay, I have punched out ahead of time 2 of my circles. So I've got the pattern with the little dots, and also I've managed to cut out that section there that has a couple of toadstools. I've got a piece of white that I'm going to stamp my sentiment on, and I am going to be punching it out with a 1 3/4 inch punch. So this is the old style whale tail. This size circle punch is still available. It's not in the catalogue, but it is available. You'll find it online. So that's what I've used. If you don't have the punch, go ahead and use a die. So the first thing I'd like to do is colour my thread. And I don't think I mentioned a piece of white cardstock to stamp my sentiment on. And these look to be slightly different colours, but that's okay. They're going to both colour really nicely. So I'm using the bullet end, which is just a little bit harder. And if you hold on to your thread, you can quite easily colour it. And then roll it a little bit just to get complete coverage. Now, one of the bonuses about using the alcohol markers to do your colouring, and you can do, as I've done in the past, colouring in your embellishments as well, is that this ink dries really fairly fast, which means you get good coverage quickly and you don't have the dry time and you don't get the colour transferring. But just to give this a little bit of extra time to make sure it's completely dry, which it will be being warm in my house, it will be dry fairly quickly. And then I'm just going to give that a little bit of a roll just to make sure that I've got a good colour saturation. There's the first bit, and I've got the longer piece, and this piece measures 25 centimetres, which is what I use to tie the bows. I've just found that is a really good length to tie a slightly bigger or looser bow. Okay, so this is almost done. I'm not going to worry too much about the very tips because I do trim those up. It's more making sure that I've got the rest covered well. Now with my glass mat, the quickest way to clean this off is using a little bit of hand sanitizer. That way then it just lifts the ink straight off. If you just use a cloth with some water or a baby wipe, you'll struggle to lift it. Just being the alcohol marker, it kind of sets there for a little bit. Okay, so there is my 2 pieces of the baker's twine coloured. I might go over that a little bit more as I'm tying it just to make sure that I've got it all. So I've just got a tissue here, some hand sanitizer, and this will lift that colour straight up. You don't necessarily have to clean off your glass mat after doing it, but I just don't want to risk getting any colour transfer from that ink onto my white cardstock. And of course, make sure it's nice and dry. Okay, so let's get started. I'm going to start off with my piece of white, and I've got the Just a Note stamp. I'll grab a block. So first of all, I'm going to be stamping using the Melon Mumbo. Stamp the sentiment. So give that a good ink up and stamp around about there. So this card, this is a really very simple sort of stamping. There's not much in the way of stamping, and there's not a great deal that you need in the way of tools. If you've got a punch, or even if it's not a circle punch, choose a different shape and you can recreate this card. So holding my punch upside down, just keep in mind as well that this is the old style whale tail punch. This punch is available in that new style that sits nice and flat. So very simple. Do the punch out. We're ready to put this card together. So as I mentioned, my card base is the thick white, which I have scored and cut in half. So it's just a half sheet of A4. And just run over that with your bone folder. I think we'll do the inside first. Let me just move these bits out the way. And I'm going to be using some Stamp and Seal. So as always, those little reminders, a gentle hand when you're using Stamp and Seal, and that little tiny tick just to break the flow of adhesive. And again, Stamp and Seal. Or you can use whichever double-sided tape, Tombow. You can use pretty much any adhesive that you like with this. If you're using the Tombow, which is the liquid glue in the white and green bottle, which is this one here, just remember that if it's hot, when you take that cap off, you might find it oozes out. Okay, so just keep that in mind. And also, you don't need to use too much of this adhesive, because otherwise it spreads and it does actually ooze outside of your cardstock, and it makes a sticky mess. Okay. Hi Mandy, thank you for joining me. So that is the inside done. If you wanted to, you could do some stamping, or you could do a strip of designer series paper in there too for the front. The first thing I'm going to do with my piece of designer series paper, I've got my short piece of coloured baker's twine. So I'm going to tuck that around the back and hold that in place with some sticky tape, and do the same on the other side. Now this baker's twine is all completely dry now. Of course, if you want to have a bit more depth in the colour, go over it a second time and just give it a few moments to finish drying as well. Okay. Now let me just do these measurements again for you. So this piece of Melamumbo is 8.5 by 12.4. The white is 8 by 11.9. Okay, I will do in the comments the measurements that I've used for this card. So give me a few moments after this video has finished so that I can put those measurements in the comments. Okay, very simple. I am going to be putting this onto my card front next using some dimensionals, and I do have some minis here, and as always, take your pick tool. So we'll get some of these up, one in each corner, and I'm also going to put a few in the middle as well, just to stop the middle of my card from collapsing. And the quickest way to get the backing off your dimensionals, particularly the minis, is use your piercing tool to stab into the, oh, got that one, oh, missed one, stab into the back of the dimensional, and then you just flick those little papers up and they all catch really nicely on the end of the piercing tool. And this, I'm going to try and center this as well as I can. I think that looks okay. So there is that one there. Next, I want to put my piece of the designer series paper on, and this one measures 7.5 by 11.4, and this is going on with dimensionals. So there's a few layers of dimensionals in this card. If you don't like your cards to be too thick, eliminate one of the layers. And then it won't sit so fat in the envelope. And again, stabbing into those with the piercing tool. To get those up. Okay, so this card is a fairly quick one to do, and I should have made another one using some different paper. But I do have my launch coming up this weekend, so Friday night and Saturday I've got the mini catalogue sale-a-bration launches, so fallen a little bit behind with my prep for that, but we'll pull all that together. Okay, for the weekend, so I'm going to be layering my circles, so I'm just going to sit these roughly where I want them. So it's going to sit around about there, just like that. So I'm going to use on this bottom one just a little bit of Tombow. And I don't have a lot of coming out of mine. My Tombows are a little bit dry, or a little bit empty, I should say. So I'm going to slide that underneath the baker's twine, just so that sits flat. Okay, my next one going on is, I might need to move that ever so slightly that way. Now, if I had used the Stamp and Seal, that kind of would have been stuck there and I would have had to live with it. But you do have just a few moments with the Tombow to slide it and move it. So that one's going to go there, and just making sure. And that one's going to go around about there. I think that's going to work. Okay, next, some dimensionals. So probably just 4 pieces will do on this little circle. And then, so that's going to go about there. So that needs to go around about there. Okay, and my second or my final circle is going to go, and I didn't quite get that in the right spot. Let me lift that one up. So if you gently need to pry it up, just use a little spatula end of the Take Your Pick tool. I'm going to go, that's going around about there. Oops, a little bit higher. Let me see if I can figure this out. I think that's going to work about there. And then that is going to sit off to the side. So I'm going to put just a couple of pieces of dimensionals behind there. And sometimes it does take just a few moments to try and line up where everything is going to sit. Hi Jenny, thank you for joining us. You've missed a little bit so far, but I will be posting the replay as always. So I'm going to be putting a couple of dimensionals there and there. Let me see where else I need it. There and there. And one about there. Okay, so little papers come off. And then this will sit over the top of the white one. There we go. I'm actually happy with how that's sitting. So that is how that looks. You can show more of the little spotted circle underneath if you want to, but I've just positioned mine probably a little bit higher than what I did on the original card. But each time you make the card, it's going to be slightly different just based on where you've positioned things. Okay, to finish this card off, let me just get my second piece of the baker's twine, which I've coloured with the Melon Mumbo marker. It does end up being a little bit stiff, so it's not quite as soft as what it was before I coloured it. Tie the bow. Just going to rub this through my fingers just a couple of times just to loosen it up, because it's does, like I said, get a little bit stiff after it's been coloured. Okay, I think that looks, there we go. It's a cute little bow. And just those little ends that haven't been coloured, I will be trimming those off. And there you have your little pretty pink bow, which is going to stick onto the card front. And I'm using a glue dot. Oops, one that just stuck to me. So because the baker's twine is a little bit smaller, I'm not sure how well you can see that, but I have folded my glue dot in half a little bit just to make it a little smaller, and that is sitting over the top of that first piece of baker's twine. And then the bow goes over the top, and that is your card finished. So it is a really nice design. It's quite simple, and as I mentioned, I did get out my 1 3/4 inch circle punch. This is the old style, but this size is still available, and it's very quick and easy to make these sorts of cards. Otherwise you're up at the big shot using different dies. So just in case you weren't here earlier, the papers I've used for this is Toadstool Garden, which is the sale-a-bration papers that you can earn for free with a $100 purchase. So I'm going to quickly show you through these papers again, because they're really pretty. Nice, bright, vibrant colours. There's one side, and of course you've got the reverse as well, which has got some really versatile patterns in it. And the coordinating stamp set for this is the terrific Toadstool stamp set from the mini catalogue and punch. That's all I've got for you for tonight. I just have one quick reminder, which is about Retreat, which is coming up in February. Registration closes for Retreat on the 1st of Feb. I did put a reminder out, and I'll continue putting some reminders out as we get closer towards the end of the month. And of course, the monthly card club as well. Registration closes for the monthly card club on the 20th. So you still got a few more days for that one too. But again, I'll be posting some reminders. Thank you very much, Mandy, Jenny and Sharon. I hope you've enjoyed seeing this card being made. I will be sharing this tomorrow night as well. Just the photo of the card. But I'm looking forward to seeing those who are able to attend the launch event this weekend. It's been a little while since I've seen you all. I haven't seen most of you since the end of November, so I am very much looking forward to that first event. But I will be back next week with a free class on Thursday next week, and of course Facebook Live on Tuesday. So until then, take care everyone, and I'll see you next week. Bye.